The AME Conference is a huge event where lots of people come to learn about lean and to meet other people and to gain inspiration, to realize they're not alone in doing this lean stuff, and to basically go back better prepared to cope with the kind of times we're living in now. So recession is actually a really good thing for lean. When times are good, people think, well, it's a bit hard to do all this lean stuff. But when you get into recession times, you don't have any alternative but to buckle down and seek out the advice and help to get on with it a lot faster.
You said 5 months ago when we spoke on the phone that crisis, that very same point, will drive change. And here we are with some people talking about crisis. Now, some companies are very well positioned, others not so well. What would you say for those companies at both ends of the spectrum on their course to the lean journey about the next 5-6 months?
You've got two choices. You either postpone lean because it's too hard to do during a recession and you go back to traditional cost cutting, squeezing budgets, or you say, hey, lean is the way to not only survive, but also to prepare myself to compete more aggressively with much weaker competitors in the future. So I don't think there's a choice. You've got to go lean in a recession, and you've got to do it a lot faster than you thought you had to do. And so that's the reason why an AME conference is great. It's a great place to gain encouragement.
So 10 months from now, if we try and take out the crystal ball, there will be one of sort of those two states for companies. They will have achieved or they will have foundered. What do you think will differentiate those two sorts of companies?
We've kind of seen this before back in the last recession, which most people can't remember anymore, back in the early 90s, and we remember it very well in the UK. There's no question that the companies that embraced lean in that recession survived, and many others did not. Over the last decade, we lost 2 million manufacturing jobs in the UK. Unemployment didn't rise, but those manufacturing jobs disappeared, and they were mainly the tale of poor performers who had not got into lean quick enough.
So what would you say to a person fairly far along their lean journey, thinking they're going to come to Kentucky next year and a number of unforeseen financial events will have taken place? How would you counsel them about the value of the AME conference in continuing challenging times?
Well, I think in a year's time, if they've been doing lean in a hurry, they'll have a lot more different questions, a lot more advanced questions than simply how do I reorganize my factory. The questions will be about how do I change the management to build the knowledge of my employees? How do I rethink the whole value stream, my supply base, where I locate, how I serve my customers? How do I engage senior management in the process? I expect those to be the predominant questions that we'll be talking about in Kentucky. The early steps are known. Changing management behavior is going to, I think, become the issue for the next 4 or 5 years.
And that process of changing culture in order to really sustain the efforts, if you had to pick one thing that really solidifies that cultural change?
I would think the most important thing for companies in building the capabilities of their people is to begin to use A3 thinking, what Toyota calls A3 thinking, right throughout their organization.
And in a nutshell, A3?
In a nutshell, A3 thinking is a structured way of having a learning relationship, of teaching relationship with your employees. Instead of telling them what to do, guiding them by asking the right questions to think about the right things to do in the right way, so that they don't have to ask the next time. They're able to deal with those questions, and next time they'll be asking about more difficult and challenging issues. So A3 thinking is the foundation for Toyota's developing its people. And that, I think, is the one thing, if I was going to distinguish the key to lean in the next decades, it's essentially about that.
Ken Goodson, when I spoke with him a couple of hours ago, said that we could take the camera and bring it to Herman Miller and film anybody on his shop floor, ask anybody any question. What do you think that kind of thinking says about a company on a lean journey?
I think a company's confident that people on the shop floor have got it, that management is serious about this. This is for good. This is the way we're going to do business in the future. And they're confident in doing that, even though there are obviously lots and lots of new challenges facing them. But I think a company needs to show you not just that they can do it on the shop floor. They need to show you they can do it in the offices. They need to show you can do it in the engineering design studios, even in the top management of the boardroom. We ought to be seeing in the future some lean activities and some visual management to actually plan the progress of the company.
So AME conferences are lean in that sense. That's about information sharing. So what do you think the value is for companies to come here and share their processes? What's the value that comes back to a company for doing that?
Coming and sharing your experiences, you've always got something to learn from other people. And other people have puzzled and figured out things that you haven't yet figured out, and you've figured things out that they haven't. So there's always a tremendous opportunity for sharing and for hearing from people who've been at the frontier of the lean movement, figuring out the next set of questions. Because lean is a journey, and we're still on that journey, and by no means complete.
We've spoken with people here who are coming to an AME conference for the first time, and they're 6 months into learning about lean, and people who are really driving some of the new elements of lean. What do you think differentiates the attendees at an AME conference? What perspective is it that makes you come here, and why is that good?
I think people who come to AME conferences are either curious, if they're at an early stage, and they're looking to be infected with this bug. The guys and the ladies who've been doing this for several years are so infected they just need more. This is a bit like a drug, and it's a good drug, but there's no antidote to this drug.